Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with my review for Overwatch, the highly anticipated first-person shooter by Blizzard. It's their first new IP in many years, and there is so much hype behind this game, and I wanted to go ahead and deliver my final opinion on this game. And man, I gotta say, I am pretty impressed, but I feel like I have some very interesting thoughts on this game because I realize that there are some critiques that I need to make with it that I think a lot of other reviewers didn't point out, and I just want to go ahead and kind of bring those up as well. But for the most part, let me get my final opinion out there right away so that people don't jump to conclusions. I really like this game a lot, and I think it's a model that other FPS shooters need to follow. Do the beta, take that beta seriously, because this game shows that when you take your beta seriously, you don't just use it as a marketing tactic, but actually a way to produce a balanced game, that exactly happens. And it actually restored some faith in games. When they say balance, I just kind of brush it off because I know it never ends up being that way. But Overwatch kind of changed my mind. Now, mind you, I think there could be some tweaks and nerfs perhaps made, and I'm sure people who played even closer attention to the game probably will notice them as well. But for me personally, I think just as it is, really impressive. It's like watching an athlete who's really good at a certain sport play, where they make it look so easy and you just kind of sit there like, they make it look so easy. I could probably do that, but you really can't because they're just really good at that. That's kind of what I think of when I look at Overwatch. It's like they did such a great job balancing and evening things out that they made it look so easy that I know so many gamers are just gonna look at this and be like, it's just another shooter. Who gives a shit? And honestly, I just know that's how it's going to go for some people, and whatever, that's always going to happen, but it's just a shame because this game is really impressive. And honestly, foot and mouth, because I said on my Twitter account, wow, this game might have some horrible balance issues. I wasn't a fan of it the first few hours. I felt like I was just getting clobbered by people, likely because they were coming fresh off the beta, they had experience with the game. I didn't have any whatsoever, so I was probably just getting my ass beat, and I wasn't trying to be like frustrated, but I just felt like, you know, with Bastion sitting behind a Reinhardt, I just felt like this type of stuff was unfair. But over time, I learned that each hero has a really great counter to another hero, and being able to switch heroes in match usually works out in the game's favor. Now, the reason I say usually is because sometimes you'll notice that people will like team up with like 3 of the same hero, and that can get really annoying because if they're all like a Soldier 76, for example, where they can all heal, all use the twin rockets and just blow people up, and they all have great aim, it can actually lead to a match where it's quite frustrating because they can just blow you out. But that happens very rarely, and usually teamwork will conquer over those types of players. But there are times where you're playing a casual game, you're only on with like 2 or 3 friends, and the rest are kind of random people, and you will lose to a team full of the same hero, and it can kind of make you scratch your head when you look at the game. But honestly, that comes with what the game was built around, which is being able to change your hero mid-match, so when you're getting beat down by a certain hero, you can switch to another one and fight back. For example, a Bastion is mowing your team down, switch to Genji, reflect the bullets back at him, get rid of him, boom, you're good to go, and then you guys continue your fight, push up a little bit because you've removed that obstacle. And another testament to this game's balance that I really noticed and was really impressed with is the amount of late game heroics you can do if you execute a play just right. And that is absolutely incredible in my book, because I've seen so many games try and fail constantly to do this, where they try to strike this balance where you can come back at the end, and I just feel like this game does that so well. If you just execute the right plan, it shows that strategy can be well implemented in this game, where it's like a fast-paced first-person shooter that if you just kind of want to shoot the shit, not really pay attention, and just have a good time with your friends, you can really get into that. But it also has this layer of strategy and depth that you can also really get into if you pay close attention. And I think that's really admirable, because this can bring in a lot of different audiences, people who want to play seriously, people who want to just play with friends, and I think that's awesome, and I think that's really fair. So yeah, there's 21 heroes, they're all pretty unique, but here's where my first issue with the game comes in, okay? Because for me, I like to know about the people I'm shooting at. I like to know a little bit of backstory for a game that's based around these special heroes. Not every shooter needs this, mind you, so I'm not saying a Battlefront needs to give me a backstory on every damn stormtrooper I'm shooting. But what I'm saying is that with this game that has all these unique heroes, these colorful heroes, these ones that can be widely explored, I wish there was more in-game. Hear me out there, because I know people get really upset when you talk shit about Overwatch. And I get that, because this is a beloved game and it's a great game, so you don't want to hear anything bad about it. I'm not saying this is bad, it's just something I would really appreciate, okay? Because for me, I think it's unfair when I see other games kind of going outside of the game to bring their lore in and get bashed for it. But when Overwatch does it, it's okay. I think that's a little unfair, because what I mean by this is that in Overwatch, you'll notice that they have these great heroes that can be explored. And the only way you can learn more about them is by watching the animated shorts, going to the website, reading the comics. Not a bad thing at all. I enjoyed all of it, okay? Please do not get me wrong and put words in my mouth. I'm being serious about this right now because I enjoyed it all and I learned about these heroes, and that's great. But for me, when you have these descriptions on your own website about these heroes, I don't see what was so hard about maybe copying and pasting that into the game where there's just a backstory button. Like I play on PS4, and just maybe you have a hero info button. That's what they do, so you can look at all your heroes' details and what they do as powers, and then click another button for backstory, just to get an idea of what's going on here. I'm not asking for a story. I'm not asking for this fully fledged campaign. I'm just asking for a little backstory on these heroes. I would really appreciate that. In-game, mind you. This is just a quirk with me. Maybe I've been spoiled by Bethesda games where I'm used to seeing lore in-game all the time, and that's just how I am. But honestly, I would really appreciate that. More so because I see other YouTubers and reviewers praising this game for its lore, for its colorful heroes, but they're not really properly explored. And to me, I just don't get that, because they are explored outside of the game. But if you're reviewing a game, you're reviewing just that. You're not being influenced by outside sources. You don't have to incorporate those outside sources because it doesn't make sense, because no other reviewer did that for any other game. Just a little quirk of mine, personally. Otherwise, that's really the only strict complaint I have about this game. It's just the lack of lore, which really isn't a big deal for probably like 70% of gamers. Maybe for my channel, that percentage is much lower because we do care about lore here on this channel. But for me personally, Overwatch is a fantastic first-person shooter. It is a great team shooter. It's a great solo shooter. It's a great have fun shooter. It is just a great first-person shooter. The modes are fun. And speaking of modes, if there's one other complaint maybe that I'd want to tack on, but I really don't feel is necessary, is that, yeah, sure, add some new modes, but that's mainly because I just want more. But to tell you the truth, the maps are great. They vary up a lot. The modes are awesome. I really enjoyed those. I think it's well balanced. It's one of those games where I'm actually kind of nervous where if they did DLC or something, I'm like, would they break the game? Because it's just so good as it is right now. And it's like, maybe they should just leave it. They won't, obviously. It's sold enough copies where they're going to have to give DLC maybe, and maybe they don't plan on doing that. But just, I could totally see this game being amazing as it is now and just living on like that. Overwatch doesn't have a crazy progression system like most first-person shooters where it's about unlocking all the new guns and attachments and all that stuff and getting the edge on the other player because you put time in. Overwatch's progression system is more like each time you level up, you unlock a loot pack, and in that loot pack is different skins and sprays and custom icons, and it's nothing crazy. It's nothing super exciting. The skins are exciting, don't get me wrong, because they're awesome. They're detailed. They change up the character model quite a bit, which I appreciate after playing Battleborn, where I was quite disappointed with those skins because they were just kind of color scheme switch ups, which Overwatch does have, but they do have other skins that stick out very well, and I like them a lot. And so I really did appreciate that. But I can't lie, the loot pack system kind of leaves a lot to be desired because sometimes I feel like I'm not being rewarded enough, which is just me personally as a gamer. A lot of people kind of pointed that out in my Doom review. I just kind of like to be rewarded as a gamer, which I think is fair. I think it's pretty fair. And so, yeah, they do reward you, but sometimes you don't get what you want. And then you see that you actually have to pay real money for it if you want more, or you can just keep leveling up. But it's all right because leveling up really isn't that hard at all in this game. You usually level up once you get to the later levels. It's once an hour usually, which isn't bad when you go in for those longer gaming sessions. So that's always awesome. But for me personally, I'd like a little bit more in loot system, maybe some like weapon skins or something. Don't change the gameplay up whatsoever because as it is right now, it's absolutely awesome. I'm sure people in the comments will sound off about balance issues somewhere, but for me personally, from my experience, what I noticed, I really appreciate it. I think this is a shooter that should actually be modeled off of in the future, not in the terms of the hero shooters. I think that's starting to get a smidge redundant. I think we're seeing a little too much of the hero shooter now where everyone's doing it. But I think in the terms of its balance, its consideration with the betas and the alphas as well, I think that this is a game that a lot of developers should take notes off of. And I really think that people are going to do so. Kind of similar to how people did with Bethesda and revealing the game and having the announcement and release time closer together. You've seen how that has an impact, and I think Overwatch is going to have a similar impact where they're showing, hey, when you take this type of stuff seriously, you get a better product, and that means more sales, that means more excitement for your game, all that stuff, and I think that's good for all of us. So that's been my review for Overwatch. I hope you guys did enjoy this. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below on Overwatch. Overall, at the end of the day, what I'm saying is buy this game, man. It's going to be a good purchase. You'll get some time out of it, especially if you're going to get it with friends. By all means, I'm sure most of you already have it. But nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. The links are, as always, in the description down below. Be sure to check out sugarbound.com, the place by Bethesda fans for Bethesda fans. Other than that, stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.